What's up YouTube, it's Onion Bomb here and welcome back to another commentary discussion kind of video. I don't typically do these kind of things just when I really have something I want to say or talk about. My typical types of content is reaction videos, and something I just got done reacting to was Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7, and a lot of you guys did watch those reactions, it seems like, especially the last Siege of Mandalore arc reactions. Those were kind of a big hit on the channel, and you guys have probably watched it all yourself too, as Season 7 as a whole. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Kind of, what I liked, what I didn't like, and most importantly, what I would change. Because there's just a very small amount of things that I would change. And it seems like to me it would just make it significantly better, and I would just love it that much more, because I want to get this out of the way. I loved the final season of the Clone Wars, and if this wasn't obvious already, spoiler warning: if you have not seen the final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7, then please do not watch this video yet, because there will be spoilers for that in this video. So the general opinion on Season 7 of Star Wars The Clone Wars is that the Bad Batch arc was pretty good, the Trace and Rafa arc was pretty bad, and the Siege of Mandalore arc was one of, if not the best arc in the entire Clone Wars, the show in general. And I'm not gonna lie, that is pretty much my opinion on it. I thought the Bad Batch arc was really good, I enjoyed it. The Trace and Rafa arc was kind of on the weaker side, pretty not great. And the Siege of Mandalore arc was, I think, my favorite arc of the entire Clone Wars. It was just awesome. And those three arcs together, all in all, made a pretty good season and a pretty decent finale and a closing for the Clone Wars. So overall, I loved the final season. I'm glad we got that. In general, I would take that over nothing in a heartbeat. I was so hyped to know that we were getting a final season of the Clone Wars, and I'm still so glad that we did get that, especially for the Siege of Mandalore arc. I love that we got that. But in the end, at the day, nothing's perfect, and this is not perfect at all. So I just kind of want to discuss the arcs in general, and some things I'd kind of change about the season as a whole. And of course, I'll get this out of the way. Yes, if I had the opportunity, I would have liked it to have a little bit more episodes than 12. I know there's like some Utapau arc that never saw the light of day still. The Bad Batch arc was one of those blueprint ones that they had like stuff for it already, and they decided to bring that to life. But there was like an Utapau arc, I think some like other arc. I don't know that for a fact. I didn't know too much about that going in this, but I wished we got those arcs in general. And I was kind of hoping they were going to do something with the Battle of Coruscant, because we never have gotten a canonical explanation for what happened there, like shown what happened there. Of course, there was the 2003 Clone Wars, which was a pretty good explanation to how we got into the first few minutes of Revenge of the Sith. But as you guys know, that is no longer canon. And of course, there was a little bit of an Easter egg alluding to that, or it was implied that something to that nature of what happened in 2003 happened in today's Clone Wars, when Obi-Wan said to Anakin that Grievous invaded the capital, Shaak Ti was sent to take care of him, and Mace Windu was like there too, like as backup, which those characters were there, and Shaak Ti did go after Grievous, and Mace Windu was there too, and he arrived just late. He was even the reason why Grievous has his coffin at Revenge of the Sith, because he crushes his chest. And I just kind of wish we actually got shown that for like an episode or so in the Clone Wars. This see their rendition of that. I think I kept saying that in my reactions too, but yeah, that was just kind of a wish of mine that did not get fulfilled. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I do want to get a little bit more into that, but I did want to start with arcs in order. So first would be the Bad Batch arc, and honestly, I don't really have too much complaints about this arc. I was pretty solid. Like, it's not as good as Siege of Mandalore, of course, but it was just a pretty epic arc. The Bad Batch was awesome. Like, they had a bunch of like long lasting shots with the Bad Batch just going absolutely off. They seemed like a great team, and I couldn't help but compare them to like Republic Commandos and just think with their special abilities, think in a game like Republic Commandos, but instead of them being the Bad Batch. I would love that so much. I couldn't help but keep thinking about that because it would just fit so well, and it would just be so awesome to play. And it was just every time the Bad Batch was attacking any kind of enemy, droids or whatever, it was just so entertaining to see. And it just felt like a good like starter arc for the season. Granted, there was only 3, so not much of a starter, but it was a good like opener for the season, I thought. And seeing the fate of Echo wasn't actually the fate of Echo, and knowing that this was kind of planned, and then seeing it actually be brought to life, that was pretty cool too. However, I was kind of thinking it could have meant more for the future. Like, Echo kind of joined the Bad Batch, but I thought maybe we were going to see the Bad Batch. Maybe the Bad Batch was going to, like, I don't know, take in Rex or help Rex and Ahsoka in some way, or do some kind of thing during Order 66, have some kind of purpose. I thought there was going to be a little bit more of a reason why we were seeing that arc, and I don't know, it almost seems like, why would you bring back Echo when Order 66 was right around the corner and he could just commit that anyhow? I thought maybe like whatever the Techno Union was doing to Echo, that was going to let some clones know, Rex, Wolf, whoever, Gregor, about the like inhibitor chip. I thought that was gonna be a thing. I thought there was gonna be some reason, or a bigger reason, why we were seeing this or that arc. I thought that was gonna come around for more future events, but it didn't. So I guess in that regard, it was a little disappointing. But regardless, I know not everything came around for like in the end to like mean something, but I just was kind of expecting that too. We did see Anakin kill Trench and see kind of a little bit of like a darker side Anakin kind of creep up a little bit. So that, in that regard, that was very cool to see. And we also saw him and Padme, and we had the implication that she was pregnant when she held her hand on her stomach when she was talking to Anakin. So that was nice too. So this arc definitely did have a little bit of meaning, but I just thought it would have a little bit more. Also, I kind of assumed that Echo was going to join the Bad Batch, though it was kind of awkward in the end. It didn't really feel like they had the best chemistry throughout the mission. In fact, they were assuming he was gonna like betray them, and Rex was really with them. And then I kind of wish they were like, they did that a little differently for the final episode. Maybe Bad Batch and Echo worked together like almost flawlessly for that mission, and they thought it would work out really good. And Echo being kind of a different mutation of a clone trooper now, that could have led into them joining, him joining the Bad Batch. And I thought that they could have done that a little bit better, but I do think it was good that Echo joined the Bad Batch. I kind of wish we saw him in that like red and black armor. We never saw him in any kind of a red and black armor. He just kind of joined the Bad Batch. So yeah, so a little bit of complaints, but at the end of the day, they're really sort of nitpicks when it comes to the Bad Batch arc. So all in all, good arc, very action-packed. I liked it. It was good. Okay, so now we're going to get maybe a little bit harsher with the Trace and Rafa arc. So yes, Yeah, this arc wasn't that good. It was, especially comparing it to something like the Siege of Mandalore, it was pretty boring. I understand, of course, why we saw it, like I said, but that wasn't the only way they could have gotten Ahsoka into the Siege of Mandalore. They could have chosen another storyline that got her there, but this is what they went with. So, honestly, I would have rather had them do some other type of way how Ahsoka gets the Siege of Mandalore, but they went with this. Okay, let's see, how would I, like, fix this, maybe? Well, I didn't hate Trace and Rafa as characters. In fact, I thought they had an interesting, like, dynamic. Rafa actually seemed pretty protective over Trace, and there was a moment where she said almost like accused Rafa of chasing all her friends away, or like not trusting them. And I thought there was going to be kind of like this moment where they were going to come to like an understanding of each other, like Trace was gonna go off on Rafa about her being too, like, almost clingy and overprotective. It really seemed like it was going that way, but that never came. In fact, they never even really mentioned that. I did like, however, Ahsoka had to hide her Force use from Trace and Rafa, and how Trace and Rafa really genuinely hated the Jedi, so that put more power into it. But it was kind of forgiven a little too quickly when it was revealed, and I was expecting a little bit more for that. I think I was a bit too light on that for my reaction. I think I said that was a pretty good way of doing it, but going back and looking at it, it was kind of a little bit of a letdown. It was good that Ahsoka showed them new light of the Jedi, but it's almost a little bit too easy. And one thing, definitely, the one thing I would change is this arc was way too long. I don't know if they have some sort of law where they have to have 4 episodes an arc. I swear before they only had like 3 episode arcs, and they used to not even have arcs in Clone Wars. So I don't know why they had to have 4 episodes, because there was definitely the 3rd episode, it made no sense, because they started in jail and it ended in jail. It literally meant nothing. The only thing is that we got introduced to the Mandalorians being back, which that could have waited for episode 4, or what should have been episode 3. And I think there's also like a discussion of in the jail cell. I think we got Trace and Rafa's like origin of how they hate the Jedi, though I don't even remember if that was that episode or episode 4. So there you go right there. They could have even maybe fit this into 2 episodes, 3 episodes, definitely not 4. I think that's kind of what killed it too. And not only, what big thing that killed this was that we were limited on episodes. We knew we were only getting 12, so each episode that was going by and like not being enjoyed and being kind of boring, like, what is this? It was kind of a letdown, definitely a letdown. If there was, let's say, 20 episodes in this, that would be 2 more arcs. Let's say they brought the Utapau arc and maybe like that other arc, or if there is no other arc, then they just made a new arc. Maybe this would have been a little bit more appreciated or forgiven for being not that great. However, in the end, I don't even know about that, because no matter how you cut it, this arc has to be played right before the Siege of Mandalore arc, and the Siege of Mandalore arc is the ending of the Clone Wars. So, because it happens during Revenge of the Sith. It being so close to the end, even if there's more episodes, like, you won't know there's only 8 episodes left, and episodes being boring even with having more episodes in the beginning, it could have been recepted the same. So I don't know. I definitely would have shortened that arc at the very least, if not changed it almost entirely. But yeah, not the greatest arc. Maybe, gets a little bit too much hate, though I understand why people hate it. I wouldn't say I hated it, but I definitely didn't enjoy it that much. It had its moments, but also had its moments. And quickly, I'm going to mention, I say quickly because I don't really have too much to really say about this other than just me like fan-gasming everywhere, but the Siege of Mandalore arc was spectacular. It exceeded my expectations and then some. The first episode in this arc got me so hyped for it. They talked about Grievous attacking the Capitol. We saw the very last moment Ahsoka and Anakin are gonna speak to each other until it's Ahsoka and Vader, and we just really get the start of this arc, and just there's so much hype around it, and we get the invasion of Mandalore, and then at the very end we get Ahsoka about to face off with Maul. And in the next episode, we do get the epic lightsaber fight, one of the best lightsaber fights in the Clone Wars, if not the best, about Ahsoka versus Maul. That was just epic, and there's so many epic moments, and there's so many, there's Ursa Wren, Sabine Wren's mother, and Gar Saxon, both two characters from Rebels, and there's so many Easter eggs that connect to the movie and stuff. There's someone from Solo that was talking to Darth Maul, and Darth Maul's trying to warn Ahsoka about what Anakin's gonna do, and almost trying to team up with Ahsoka, but Ahsoka trusts Anakin so much that she doesn't tell the Jedi Council about this. She doesn't work with Maul, and it's just so cool because we know what's gonna happen, but it's so sad too because we know Ahsoka is wrong, but we understand where she's coming from. And then, man, when Order 66 gets executed and Rex is shaking and trembling, oh my goodness, what a moment. That was so cool and exceeded whatever I thought was going to happen with Order 66. And there was just something so dark and sinister about how Order 66 was handled in the Clone Wars, where we only saw it from one point of view, but we knew of the death and destruction it caused throughout the entire galaxy and what was to come. There was just something so dark about that, and I loved it. And then Ahsoka and Rex survived this. We got the death of Jesse, which that was a long time clone trooper, and I guess all clones either dying or just being evil, so that's just a rip. We saw Darth Vader in the Clone Wars finding Ahsoka's lightsaber, and oh my goodness, there is not too much I would change about that arc at all. Honestly, the only thing I can think of, and trust me when I say this is a very nitpicky thing, I would just maybe add a little bit more to the very ending. Maybe a conversation between Rex and Ahsoka about what happens next, and they just don't know. Maybe if Ahsoka hears Obi-Wan Kenobi's message that was in Rebels, the Republic and Jedi have fallen, just a little bit more, but that's not needed at all. That was just something that maybe I could want, but other than that, man, completely good arc. I wouldn't change a thing about it. Definitely wouldn't change a thing, and that's probably the one minuscule thing I'd even add. So that is kind of my opinion on the 3 arcs. So this is what I would have done instead. I would have kept the Bad Batch arc. And if they were, I don't know if they could only do the 12 episodes, but if they could have done more, I would have done, at least added the Utapau arc too, maybe another arc, maybe add 20 episodes for the grand finale. But maybe if they actually couldn't do that, they didn't have the budget or the resources, then I don't know. This was pretty hyped. I think people would have liked this and stood behind more Clone Wars. So I think I would have added a little bit more episodes. However, I would also take away one or two episodes of the Trace and Rafa arc, and I would have added some things. I would have added a Battle of Coruscant, not necessarily arc, but maybe an episode. If you guys haven't watched the 2003 Clone Wars, I suggest that. It's a very underrated piece of Star Wars, and it's actually a pretty big piece of Star Wars media that was part of my childhood. Basically, there's a bunch of fighting on in this one part in Battle of Coruscant. We get to see the Grievous kidnap the Chancellor and have this big chase throughout Coruscant. Man, I would love to see a rendition of this Clone Wars style have that. And I can't believe we didn't see anything of Grievous. They had such a cool updated model for Grievous they showed in the preview, or not the preview, but the intro of the first Siege of Mandalore episode, and we didn't see him at all. I think even one of my viewers commented on it. Comment on my video saying we definitely need to see Grievous. He looks badass, and I agree. So many people wanted to see like Grievous stuff, and man, I would have loved Battle of Coruscant. Just some kind of episode, mini arc, and definitely, at very least, what I would change this season is take the bare minimum. I would take out that Trace and Rafa episode that they started in jail. Took the two important things that happened, being seeing the Mandalorians for the first time and Trace and Rafa's experience with the Jedi, and I would have threw them into episode 2 or episode 4. That would make episode 4 3, and it would go like the first Trace and Rafa, the second, the fourth, and then a Battle of Coruscant episode, and then the Siege of Mandalore. That way, when we get into the Siege of Mandalore, we actually know what's happening when Grievous is like, it's Coruscant. Grievous. Obi-Wan says Grievous has attacked the capital, and it's like, oh, we already know that. We've seen that before. And like, it would take place a little bit before that when Anakin and Obi-Wan were on that bridge, but I don't think that would matter. I think it would give more context to it for younger viewers, and it would be so cool to see. So I think, getting into what I would change, at the bare minimum, I would have taken out one of the episodes for the Trace and Rafa arc and added a Battle of Coruscant episode and have it play out exactly how it did, and I think it would be significantly better. And getting a little bit more into it, I would have added maybe 2 more arcs to this, 2 more 4 episodes arcs. I would definitely have the Utapau arc and maybe like a Battle of Coruscant type of Clone Wars 2003 whole arc. I think that might be a little bit too much. I think Battle of Coruscant could be fit into 1 or 2 episodes. So maybe that could be like, I don't know, another arc, and then like just cut the Trace and Ralph arc in a little bit. Maybe even change the Trace and Ralph arc completely, and like it's not even like really needed for Trace and Ralph. Just like getting Ahsoka somehow into the Mandalore, and like she goes on her own little journey. I don't know, just tweaking that around a little bit maybe. I know I'm not getting too detailed, I apologize for that, but like, as far as like, what I would want instead of the Trace and Rafa arc, I don't really know. Like, we do have to have some reason Ahsoka gets back into it because she wasn't in the Jedi Council at all. So we needed something. And, it's like, the Trace and Rafa thing was okay. It was actually a good reason, like a good storyline. It just dragged on and had a little bit too much in it. So maybe change a little bit of aspects about it. Just change that somehow. And that's honestly what I would do differently for the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, Season 7, final season. Oh, and this is kind of a side note, but I said this in pretty much every one of my Star Wars reactions, or Star Wars, the Clone Wars reactions, but I would love to see a Revenge of the Sith movie done by Clone Wars. Like, Star Wars, the Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith. I would love to see that movie. The voice actors, Clone Wars style, pretty much the same movie as Revenge of the Sith. Maybe a little bit more like different things done a little bit more differently, but relatively the same plot story. I would love to see that. And I know they said that was the final season for Clone Wars, but I really think the Siege of Mandalore did really, really well, and I just think there's a market there for that era of the Star Wars, not just the Clone Wars, the Clone Wars era of Star Wars. In fact, that's my favorite era of all Star Wars. Like, the Empire versus Rebels, that's the classic. That's good. First Order versus Resistance, that's alright. But Clones versus Droids, Republic versus Separatists, that's what I grew up on, and that's what really made me fall in love with Star Wars. Like, just the Clone Wars stuff. I used to play like the old Battlefront games. I'd always be like the clones and fight the droids, and that's where I really, really liked Star Wars, and I would just love more stuff of that. And yeah, even if they brought more seasons of Clone Wars, which I'm not saying they will, I'm just saying it shouldn't be outside the realm of possibility, even though they did say this was the final season. I wouldn't be mad because, oh, they said it's the final season, they decided to bring more. I wouldn't be mad. I'd be so happy. So, yeah, maybe we'll have to see. Other than that, though, if we don't get a single piece of Star Wars The Clone Wars media after this, it's not going to be heartbreaking because we did get a pretty solid conclusion to the series in The Siege of Mandalore. Thank you guys for listening. That's kind of all I have to say. I know, like I said, I don't do these types of videos too often, so I might not be the best at them, and this was kind of longer than I expected. I feel like I say that for all my content, but I just over or underestimate myself when I just need to talk a lot of the time. So yeah, what do you guys, would you guys not change a thing about this that season of Clone Wars? Would you guys change a lot of it? Would you change all of it? Let me know what you have to think about this, what you think about my ideas, what are your own ideas. Let me know in the comments down below, and I will read them and maybe interact with them. We'll have to see. And like I said, I don't really do commentary types of video, content discussion type of videos without having something I really want to talk about. So it's kind of like far and few between with these videos. I mainly do reaction videos. So if you didn't see me react to the Star Wars Season 7, maybe when I do that, I do some other reactions too, so stay tuned for that. But for now, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Like or dislike, subscribe or don't subscribe, it's always up to you. I will see you guys in the next video you watch with me. Good boy.
Anakin Skywalker, reporting for duty.
The Republic is in control of a command post.
The Force is strong with me.
Tangle, I can feel them try to grab me by the ankles. I can hear them all start to say my name, oh. But it's not about the money or the fame, no. No, it's all about me just doing my thing, yo. Cause I'm loving what I do and I won't change, no. I feel blessed, I could do this every day, yeah.